Hey everybody, regular 31 back here for FSI DFS. Sorry, camera is still not working correctly, and the other one I have it's just was too dark. So I'll get that fixed in a next couple days. But we'll just proceed on here with this. You can still hear my voice, you can still see my screen. That's the most important parts of this video here. So we have 8 game slate on DK tonight. Starts early at 6:40, and FanDuel starts at regular time 7:05, but they only have 6 games. So baseball has been a little bit weird this weekend. If we look at some of the scores, you had some teams in some really good spots on Saturday and Sunday that just didn't come through. Yankees against Oakland, you thought that's definitely a get right matchup, and it just didn't happen. Um, you know, Teams that look like they could put up a bunch of runs against decent pitchers and decent situations just didn't pan out. So we're on to Monday now. It's a new day, and got some good pitchers for tonight's matchup. We got some good hitting situations again, so we'll see what happens. And one thing I've been having a lot of success with recently, especially on these smaller slates. So the bigger slates, it's hard, but you're just really narrowing down to about like 6 to 8 pitchers and throwing them in an optimizer, and then picking like maybe 6 or 8 teams for stacks, and maybe even combing through those stacks and refining them and taking out the matchups that don't have the split advantage, and just with a small sample size going into the 25-cent contests on FanDuel, and max entering the 150 and the 50-cent mini max on DK, and been coming up with a couple $100 in profit every single night that I've done that. Again, like I try to avoid the small slates unless I can really narrow, or the bigger slates, unless I can really narrow it down to, like I said, like the 6 to 8 pitchers that I really like. And even with those, like I'll maybe leave 3 or 4 wide open if I think they're really good SP1 candidates, and then really refine the other ones to like maybe anywhere 10-15%, maybe 5% on a couple guys that are in questionable matchups, but still want to get a little bit of exposure. So just every time I find success in baseball, I really like to try to share it with all of you guys and girls out there who are playing, just to see if it can help you out too. So let's get to this slate. First game we have on DK only, we have Dodgers and Marlins. We have Tony Gonsolin and Pablo Lopez. So Gonsolin definitely makes a really good pitcher here. Probably he could be your SP2 or an SP1. Burns is going to be a clear cut SP1 on both sites. On DK, if you compare the two together, that's awesome. If you can't, then and you want to get off the Burns chalk and be a little bit different, and like maybe a single entry, or if you're doing like a 20 max and you think everybody's going to have like a high ownership on Burns, want to put some Gonsolin in there. His matchup here should be really good. Lopez on the other side, not really interested in. Um, Dodgers as a team, like they don't have a super high total tonight. It's only 427. You've got like 3 teams up in the fives ahead of them in St. Louis, Toronto, and Philadelphia. So, but the Dodgers are the Dodgers. You definitely um, can hit here. It is a pitcher's park that they're going into, but still, like I have no problem. I might, if I were playing some, I'd probably go with some of the lefties here, or like a mini stack. So Freeman, Muncy definitely be in play. Lux if he's back in the lineup. Bellinger if you want to do like a wraparound thing and like play like Bellinger, Betts or Turner or Smith, like take 2 of the 3 of those, and Freeman and Muncy, you can go like 9, 1, 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Marlins simply no interest here in anything there, unless they'd be probably the lowest leverage stack on the slate. St. Louis and Cincinnati, maybe some rain here. Looks like 60% at this point. It's in the Great American Small Park in Cincinnati, so it should be a good hitting situation, even though the wind's blowing in a little bit. So hopefully this game plays out, because there's a lot of juicy matchups here for the batters against Chase Anderson, who's just a horrible, horrible pitcher. He started out the season, I think he made like 1 or 2 starts for, I I think it was Tampa Bay or Baltimore. It's an AL East team. Then he got cut, and I think he actually the Tigers farm team picked him up, and he pitched in AAA. And now Cincinnati's just been so bad that they're dumpster diving and pull him up. They couldn't find another pitcher out there, which is just really you know just shows the state of the fair that they're kind of mailing it in for the year and looking on to next year. So, but once we hit September, you'll start to see like maybe some more young arms and stuff come up. So I think this is probably just maybe a one start thing just to kind of get them through to the call up time of the year. But Mikolas on the other side, he's been solid recently. He's got a solid matchup here. The weather's just a little bit concerning, but I think definitely in the medium range, he's one of my favorite pitchers. St. Louis is my top stack. Also, they've just been doing really well recently. Like Newt Barr's just really come, and he's still 3K. He's just been solid recently. Donovan Goldschmidt hits both sides of the plate fine. Arenado, sometimes I have him stacks. He's kind of like Vlad for Toronto. He's just so expensive and not as consistent as some of the other guys. So I'd rather sometimes you know, if Donovan's indoor or Gorman or just pay other guys in the stack. But I'll just have to see how the lineups are when they come out if I decide and if I have enough salary to get to them or not. But Goldsmith's definitely more of a priority for me there. He's expensive at 6'2". It's just kind of hard to get the two of them in there. If I have to choose, it's always going to be Goldschmidt. Cincinnati on their side, if you want to take Fraley as a one-off, who's just been on fire since he came back from injuries, really cheap leading off, has the splits advantage. I'm perfectly fine with that, even if you play Mikolas. If he hits a home run versus him, and that's the only run that Mikolas gets up in the whole game, then I think that's perfectly fine there. Next up, we have the Cubs and the Blue Jays. We have Javier Acid going up against Jose Barrios. I'm not interested in Acid at all. He might develop into a decent person. And I know that Jays kind of got shut down yesterday. They were one of the offenses that looked like one of the top ones on the slate, but I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think they'll be fine and come back to life a little bit. So Barrios on the other side, he was doing well. Then he had 2 games that had negatives. So there's horrible games. And his last 2 games has been good. So I think he's trending in the right direction here. I take Montas over him in the cheaper range for cash, but I think he's definitely at his price tag of 7.6 in play here, especially being a negative 235 favorite. So, and the Jays have a 5.51 implied run total. So the Cubs, I think, make a decent GPP stack. They've been my third favorite one, probably. If you still think Barrios is going to struggle and the Blue Jays are not going to, their bullpen's decent, so they should be fine. Blue Jays on the other side, I think you can stack them against the Cubs and in cash or GPP, however you want there. Definitely multiple players in here that fit into your lineup. So just see it when the lineup comes out and pick who you want. Next up, we have the Boston Red Sox and Minnesota Twins. We have Brian Bellows coming back and trying again. I think he like injured his forearm or something. He had some sort of injury. But now he's back. So I don't know how deep he's going to go, but the Red Sox bullpen's not really good either. Minnesota, I know they don't have Buxton, but still, I think they can do some damage against Bello, who's just really struggled at the major league level since he's been called up. And Dylan Bundy on the other side here. I'm not interested in him. I'm not saying he's a complete fade and 150 max on a small slate, but I really don't like him against this Red Sox lineup, who's got Story back and starting to get stronger. So I think Minnesota makes a really good GPP stack. The wind's also blowing out in Boston at 13 miles per hour, and that really helps them. Fenway's kind of turned into like a mini Coors Field or a mini Great American Ballpark, a place where weather's starting to pick up and influence hitting, it seems, this year. 76 degrees. So it's not like blazing hot, but it is, warmer than like a 50 or 60 degree night. So I think Minnesota bats definitely make a lot of sense here against Bello and the Boston bullpen. And I think definitely Boston could be a sneaky GPP stack also against Bundy. Next up, we have Pittsburgh Pirates and Milwaukee Brewers. We don't really have any idea. I've seen Stevenson. I've seen some other people for Pittsburgh. MLB.com doesn't have an idea, but whoever it is, I'm not playing them. They're going to be a fade. And then Corbin Burns is definitely a top pitcher on the slate here against this Pittsburgh team. I know Burns has struggled last like 3 outings, but they're against very, very good teams. This is a great get right spot for them. They're better, I think, as against left-hand pitching than right-hand pitching. So just lock Burns in unless want to be contrarian and go with like Goslin but uh, but Goslin's not even an option on FanDuel. So Corbin Burns it is. And then Milwaukee, they're my favorite cheap stack of the day. And I know they're not super checked, but you really only have like Adames at 4.9. Like Yelich is down to 4.1. Tellis at 3.9, McCutcheon 3.7, Renfro at 4K, like Wong 3.1. I mean, there's Navarez as a catcher at 3K. This stack can definitely work for you. There's so much value in like the 3 to 4K range. You're not paying up for like 2 5K guys or like a 6K guy like you're trying to do with like St. Louis with Arenado and Goldsmith. And it's not like the Dodgers or the Blue Jays where you have like multiple like high price guys there too. So this stack could be your primary stack and then mix in with a top stack. So if you want to go up double pitcher, or it's a stack that you can mix in also with a primary stack and some cheaper pieces in that primary stack to make it work. So Pittsburgh, not interested at all. If you want to take them as a leverage play, I think, Miami's probably worse off than them, but they'd probably be the second worst team on the slate today. But with the way things have been going in baseball recently, they might win you the GPP. So who knows? Throw $1 on them if you're feeling lucky. New York Yankees and Los Angeles Angels. Yeah, Frankie Montas, and this should be a get right situation. But Trout has hit home runs, and I think 4 out of the last 5 games. He's looked really good. The Angels are starting to hit. They're starting to put up runs. So I don't think they're the doormat that they were a couple weeks ago. I think having Trout back in the lineup and helps the situation here, helps Ohtani out. So, and Montas should be a decent pitcher, but he struggled right before he left Oakland, and he struggled since he's joined the Yankees. So, I don't know if I really want to play him here, but I think he's going to be one of the most popular SP2s just as people looking at the matchup. So, I think he's more of a GPP play here. I think I'd rather prefer to take Barrios with his current form over Montas's discount. I think you save like $400 going to Montas, but I think I'd pay the $400 more and go up to Barrios in here. But again, that's whatever works for your builds. Jose Suarez, I think at 6.9, I'm going to play him in at least one lineup because the Yankees, like, if they couldn't hit against Oakland, and Suarez isn't a horrible pitcher, like, if maybe he can go out there and shut him down also. And the Yankees went out to the West Coast last time and they just had a horrible time out there. And Toronto did, I don't know what's with these AL East teams when they go out to the West Coast and they just struggle if it's the time difference adjusting it. But this is like their second series, so they should be out there for a while and their body should be adjusting to it. So I'm not sure what's going on. Yankees bats, I think, would be my fourth in line for GPP. I'd like Minnesota, Boston, and the Cubs over them just because they haven't been hitting. But again, it's like the Yankees. If it's one of those things where if you keep on putting money into it on a consistent basis, then eventually it's going to pay off. And I even stopped because, like, in the middle of the season, like my everyday stack was the Yankees of Pittsburgh, and I was like banking on it. And then the All-Star break happened, and they just completely, have not worked out. So I really haven't been playing a consistent 2-team stack every single day like I have in most seasons, just because I can't figure out like who to do it with. And I've been working more with like the multi-entering, like I said, in smaller slates on that. So if I do find another combination in September, I'll let you all know as soon as possible. But just looking at this game, the Yankees, GPP, the Angels, I really, really like in the GPP. And I think, if Montas is going to have a lot of ownership here, like sign me up for like Trout and Ohtani and, either a mini stack of the Angels. I don't think I go a full stack with them, but I want some exposure to them because if Trout continues as hot as he is and Montas continues to struggle and the Yankees as a whole, even some of their bullpen guys, then I think this might be a good situation to take advantage here in the GPP with low ownership on the Angels. Philly and the Arizona Diamondbacks, we have Ranger Suarez. So just remember there's two Suarez's. There's Jose Suarez for the Angels and Ranger Suarez for Phillies. Ranger is by far definitely the better pitcher. He's a pitcher that doesn't give up much power. I think he's a decent ground ball guy. Uh, Arizona, of course, is going to mix and match with them. They're going to throw a full right-handed lineup out here, but that's their weaker lineup. They're better against righties throwing their left-handed lineup out there. So definitely like Ranger Suarez here. I think he's going to be, you know, behind Mikolas, my second favorite mid-range pitcher one. You get a nice discount on Mikolas, but with the rain and everything, he's got a better matchup. But if that game gets canceled, or especially on FanDuel where he's not an option, I think Ranger Suarez could definitely be an SP1 candidate for you in your GPPs. So Philly obviously has a nice high total at 5.21 against Madison Bumgarner, who's on my not interested list. He's just not a good pitcher anymore. I mean, he does enough to remain in the major league level. In real life, he's serviceable, let's call him. But for DFS purchases, we're not going to play him, and we're definitely going to play against him. So definitely like the righties. He's pretty good against lefties, but Schwarber and Harper, if you can get to them, they're super expensive at 6 and 5-6. I'd rather pay up for like Real Muto and Hoskins in here because it's really hard to try to get Burns in and like paying for 4 like 5 or 6K guys, even like with some of the value here. You're gonna be stacking like Pittsburgh or Miami with them, and that's just not gonna work out here, or you're gonna go way down on your SP too. So in GPP, it might, if you can get the full, figure out how to get the full stack in, maybe stack like Mikolos and Barrios or somebody like that, or if you trust Montas, like go Montas Barrios, and you can get the full Philly stack in. But it's going to be kind of hard to do on this slate. Arizona on the other side would just be a cheap GPP stack, but again, Razor Suarez really hasn't given up much. Some of these writers they're throwing out there are like Stone Garrett and Jordan Luplow, and you just guys that don't have a ton of power, and the Phillies bullpen's good also. So I'm just really not going to recommend them. Plus, they're probably going to get pinch hit for if they bring in a right-hander. All the lefties are going to come off the bench. So I kind of avoid Arizona tonight. Okay, finally, we have San Diego Padres and the San Francisco Giants. Mike Clevinger and Rodon. Even though San Francisco's been a little banged up and struggling a little bit recently, I don't think I'm going to play Clevinger here. I wouldn't roll him out 150 max GPP. Wind's blowing out 60 miles per hour, but in San Francisco, that's probably like 6 miles per hour, just the way the ballpark's configured, 59 degrees, so it's cooler temperatures. Rondon on the other side, I think he'd be my third favorite pitcher. And I know McKinley's been on me because he thinks that I like hate Rondon, and I really like Carlos Rondon as a pitcher. I really was a big fan of him when he came up with like the White Sox, and I really like him on the Giants here. But just in this specific matchup against San Diego, who's got a decent offense here and got some really good right-handed bats, with like Soto hits good on both sides of the plate. Machado, Drury, Belt. They've got Nola, the catcher, hits lefties well. He could do really, really well, but I think it's kind of risky. He's the same price as Burns on FanDuel, so I'm definitely gonna take Burns there in cash. And in GPP, I'll take some shots with Rodon on both sites, but I think in your cash builds, I just don't like him in this matchup here against San Diego. So for the bats, San Francisco makes a cheap one against Clevinger, but I think like by far like Milwaukee better. So I wouldn't use them as your secondary cash and stack. I'd use Milwaukee there. And then for San Diego, I think it would be the top leverage play on the slate if Rondon's going to have some ownership and they're going to be low owned just because of the pitcher that they're facing. So let's look at some matchups or some lineups and get you on your way for today. Definitely taking Burns as my SP1. I'll let you pick your SP2. If you can get up to Gosselin, that's fine. If you can get up to Rondon and want to do it that way, that's fine. But I'm probably going to look at like Mikolas or Barrios or Ranger Suarez here for there. So I'm going to be stacking, like I said, Milwaukee and St. Louis, unless it gets rained out. If it does get rained out, I'm probably going to switch to Philly or Toronto as my my primary stack there to go with Milwaukee. So Goldsmith and Wong, I think would at first and second would be my first choice. If Goldsmith's not in the game and Gorman is, then I'd go Tellis Gorman there. Donovan at third base if he's in. If not, I'll have to figure it out. I might have to try to see if I can get up there in Otto. Adames at shortstop, Newt Bar and outfield, Yelich in outfield, and then decide if you want to take another Cardinal or if you want to take another Milwaukee bat like Renfroe or McCutcheon there in the outfield, or they're the cheap guy. I think there's like a 2K guy that bats ninth. You could do a wraparound stack for Milwaukee there. So for FanDuel, I'm taking Burns. Obviously, it's the top cash pitcher. Kirk, I'm going to go Blue Jays here because St. Louis isn't on the slate. Polanco or Reyes, I'm mixing in Minnesota. Correa, Burchett at shortstop. Gordon, and then whatever Toronto outfielder fits. So if I can get another two of them in, I will. If not, I might have to take Kepler and then just have to figure out who else fits in there. If I can get Correa or Bichette in a utility spot if I want to, or third base. Urshela is an option, or Reza goes there, but Polanco's questionable, so he might not even be in. So we'll just have to see how the lineup comes up for that. For GPPs, I am going to take probably Gosselin. If I can get up to Rondon, I will. And Miklos, I think, is my preferred pairing, but any of these four pitchers are in play. I also said Ranger Suarez potentially too. If you want to go 150 max, like if you want to put a little bit Jay Suarez in there against the Yankees as an SP2, I'm fine with that too. So catcher, I'm leaving open. I'm probably going to punt there, take a cheap guy. I wouldn't take Molina though. If you look at his box score, he's played like consistently like in the last 10 games, but I don't think he's hit anything in the last 8. But Otani, Ariza, I'm going to go Minnesota, LA Angels stack here. Third base, Renfroe might fit there, or Urshela or whoever. Correa, Kepler, and Trout, and then Gordon might fit there, or whoever. If there's a Angels outfield that fits, I'd probably try to lean more Minnesota guys. I'd probably just take Trout, Otani, and Renfroe. If you have to use like Fletcher at second base or something just for salary relief, then that's fine too. Maybe even the Angels catcher is usually a decent hitting guy also as an option. So GPP for FanDuel, I'm taking Ranger Suarez or Barrios there. And then I am going to go Minnesota and not Minnesota, I'm going Milwaukee and the Angels. So tell us at first base there, second or third base. I'm just going to have to figure out like what Minnesota guys or Angel guys I want. So like I said, Fretcho, Renfroe is in there, Wong, there's a bunch of different options, or go one-offs. That's fine too. But Adames at shortstop, Trout, Otani, and Yelich in the outfield. And then if I can get McCutcheon, Renfroe, or another, if I'm not playing your second, third base, another Milwaukee guy, I'll try to give him my utility to finish off the stack. So that's what we have for the day. Thanks for listening and tuning in. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. We will try to get back to you and help you out with your questions there and your lineup builds, or you can hit me up at Twitter at MegaRoar31. So if these videos are helping you out, and we appreciate you still watching, even though like so many things are coming up with college football and football, we'll continue to do these videos as long as people keep on watching this season. So, and thanks again for watching today. So like the video if it helps you, share with your friends, subscribe to our channel so you know when the stuff is coming out. And as always, if you want more information on FSI DFS, check out the description of the video. All the information is there on how to get into our Discord, and just check out our site and see our pricing, our packaging, and all the stuff that we're offering currently and things that are coming up. So once again, I'm MegaRoar31. Good luck in your contest today. Remember, DK starts early at 6:40, FanDuel 7:05. We'll see you next time.